मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतरशत शिमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतरशत शिमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानुग गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पतदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री Sārārtha-darśinī वृत्ति की जय। श्रील विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय। विश्वभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा ठाकुरानी की जय। श्री नंदन नंदन यशोदा नंदन श्री विजेंद्र नंदन श्याम सुंदर की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। राधे राधे रसेश्वरी माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम रुक्मिणी दीदी, सवित्री दीदी, दंडवत प्रणाम माधवी दीदी, दंडवत प्रणाम। ओके। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस् तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन hridantasto yabhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Nashta prayeshvabhadreshu nityang bhagavata sevaya bhagavatuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamang charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshaya kshiptastakama ditaranga madhe kripa mai tvam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charanarvindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams Chitra Didi. Hari Bol. All right, so let's see. What did we end with last time? There was, I think, as Krishna showed all the Vrajvasis Vaikuntha. Was that it? Let's see. Okay. So in the previous chapter, we read about yet another demigod. Once Nanda Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Lord and went to take bath in Yamuna early in the morning on Dwadashi day. Mistaking that time to be inappropriate for a bath, a servant of Varuna, the god of waters, arrested Nanda. The cowherd men cried out for Krishna and Balaram as they could not find Nanda. Krishna then went to the court of Varuna deep under the waters. Seeing Krishna, fearful Varuna worshipped him and spoke, O Lord, your father is brought by my foolish servant. Please forgive him. You may take your father home. Krishna became pleased with Varuna and took Nanda Maharaj home. Nanda Maharaj was astonished to see the place of Varuna and his worship of Krishna. Later, he described everything to the cowherd men, who were astonished and wondered if Krishna would show them the transcendental abode. Krishna understood their thoughts and took them to the lake called Brahmahrada and made them to submerge in the water. There, they saw Krishna being worshipped by the personified Vedas in the transcendental abode. But even the Vrajvasi's feelings for Krishna didn't change. One second. Hari Bol, Ganga Didi, Dandavat Pranam. There. Okay, so now we're beginning chapter 29. Krishna and the gopis meet for the Ras dance. I just want to read the last verse of the previous chapter. Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men felt the greatest happiness when they saw that transcendental abode. They were especially amazed to see Krishna himself there, surrounded by the personified Vedas who were offering him prayers. Commentary. Seeing Krishna Loka and the spiritual world, the cowherd men were amazed and filled with the highest bliss. They experienced Krishna Loka to be the same as the Vrindavan on earth. It is just like a millionaire who, having lost all his wealth, becomes full of bliss on finding some clue to the wealth. They found that Sri Krishna, with his lotus face covered with drops of perspiration and worshipable by millions of their life heirs. Huh. They saw that he was personally present as the Lord of the spiritual world. In their unique vision, they were astonished to see Krishna being praised by the personified Vedas. The cowherd men thought, "Where have these effulgent beings come from? They are unknown to us, but we cannot ask them who they are." Though seeing us, Krishna does not display his boyish manners, run towards us and embrace us with his two arms. We also feel reluctant to approach him and take him on our laps. Today, Krishna has forgotten hunger and thirst. But how can his mother live without feeding him? In this way, the cowherd men were astonished. Employing her Leela Shakti, Yogamaya then brought the Brajvasis back to earthly Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami has explained this fact in a verse in Stavamala. May you be protected by Mukunda, who, in order to teach the cowherd men that there is no place as sweet as earthly Vrindavan, effortlessly showed them Krishna Loka and the spiritual world. Krishna showed them Krishna Loka and the spiritual world and then brought them back to earthly Gokul. Thus ends the commentary on the 28th chapter. So now chapter 29. Krishna and the gopis meet for the Ras dance. 1 second. Hari Bo and Dira Mataji, Dandavat pranams, and also Champak Didi, Dandavat pranams. Shri Badarayani Uvacha Bhagavan Apita Ratri Sharadot Mallika Vikshyaranto Manaschakre Yoga Mayam Upashritaha. Shri Badarayani said, Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in all opulences. Yet upon seeing those autumn nights scented with blossoming jasmine flowers, he turned his mind toward loving affairs. To fulfill his purposes, he employed his internal potency. Commentary. Sārārtha-darśinī Vritti by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. 1 second, just. Okay. I offer my humble obeisances unto my Guru Parampara, beginning with my Diksha Guru, Sri Radha Raman. Also, Sri Ram. That's the alias. My Param Gurudev, Shri Krishna Charan. My Paratpar Gurudev, Shri Ganga Narayan. My Param Paratpar Gurudev, Srila Nartham Ṭhākura. To Shri Lokanath Goswami and Lord Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Paying repeated respects to my Diksha Guru, Shri Radharaman Dev, I offer respects to Lord Shri Krishna, the ocean of mercy. I take shelter of Shri Shukadev Goswami, the eye of the universe and master of the worlds. I offer myself and everything I possess to Shri Krishna, the Lord of the gopis' hearts, in hopes of attaining the eternal service of his beloveds. In the next 5 chapters, chapters 29 to 33, known as the Ras Panchadhyaya, which are like the 5 life heirs of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Shukadev Goswami describes Shri Krishna's Ras Leela, the prized jewel within the treasury of all his pastimes. All glories to the Rasa dance. By the good fortune, the Vraj Gopis acquired for themselves. By the good fortune the Vraj Gopis acquired for themselves by participating in the Ras dance, they relished the topmost manifestation of all divine tastes, even while present on this earth. This chapter describes how the thirsty Chataki birds of the gopis' ears became inundated with the harshly poisonous shower from the monsoon cloud of Krishna's flute. It also describes the arguments and counter-arguments of Krishna and the gopis, and Krishna's playful disappearance from the midst of the gopis. When Krishna was 7 years old, on the Amavasya, the dark moon day of Kartik month, he preached karma mimamsa philosophy to prevent the Indra Yajna of Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men. On the first day of the waxing moon, Pratipat, the Vrajvasis worshipped Govardhan Hill. On the second day of the waxing moon, Krishna honored a feast on the shore of the Yamuna on the occasion of Bhratri Dvitiya, a day when sisters honor their brothers. Though this pastime is not described by Shukadev Goswami, it is understood that it took place. Then Indra cursed the Vrajvasis, and Krishna held up Govardhan Hill from Shukla Tritiya until Navami, 7 days. On Shukla Dashami, the 10th day of the waxing moon, the cowherd men discussed the incident with great surprise. On Kartik Shukla Akadashi, the heavenly Surabhi cow performed an abhishek of Krishna. On the Dwadashi day, Krishna went to Varuna Loka to rescue his father Nanda Maharaj. On Purnima, the cowherd men had darshan of Brahma Loka, Krishna Loka, and the autumn season finished. With the next Janmashtami, Krishna turned 8 years old. On the full moon night on Sharada Purnima of the Ashvina month, Sri Krishna celebrated Ras Leela. The first verse begins from this point. Wow, I really like how in the beginning of this commentary, Srila Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura, it's like he's starting a whole new book, even starting with this Rasa Panchadai, right? He offers pranams to his whole Guru Parampara and gives this whole introduction. And then, yeah, it's really neat to now we know the actual days of each one of these pastimes. So now when these days come up throughout Kartik, we can remember these pastimes also. Okay. Even though Krishna is Bhagavan, full in 6 varieties of opulences, he turned his mind toward enjoying because of the time, place, and persons, which are the 3 udipans to excite ras. And udipana is it's something that stimulates feelings and remembrances like that. It's stimuli, I think you call it. So the time was the full moon night of autumn, Sharad Purnima. The place was the forest of Vrindavan, and the persons were the lovely damsels of Vraj. All 3 served to inflame the passion of enjoyment by their supreme capacity to attract Krishna's mind with their sweetness. The attraction of the autumn night. Krishna became desirous of relishing with his own ears and other senses the variegated charms of the topmost experts among billions of women in arts of amorous love. He wanted to enjoy with his own senses the sweet sounds of the gopis' voices, their beauty and fine fragrance, their tenderness, cleverness, and skill in dancing and playing music. Krishna also wanted the gopis to relish with their own ears and other senses the sweet sound of his voice. Krishna's yogamaya potency, under the influence of pure love and impelled to act by Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti, his potency to instantly fulfill desires, brought millions of other nights, which were all needed for carrying out such loving pastimes, into that single night of merely 4 prahars, 12 hours. Therefore, the word for nights, ratri, is plural in this verse. This fact is confirmed later in the Bhagavatam 10:33-38. Brahma ratra upavrite. After an entire night Brahma had passed. After an entire night of Brahma had passed. Wow. In other words, this night of Sharad Purnima became the length of Brahma's night. Previously, when Krishna stole the clothing of the virgin gopis, he said, "On all the future nights you will enjoy with me." Shri Baladev Vijabhushan says Ratri. He says Ratri is plural to indicate the numerous demigods in charge of the night who came there to perform service. So that was attraction of the autumn night, and now this is the attractiveness of the place. So we read about the night, now we're reading about the place. Sharadot Pulamalika. Although out of season, the jasmine, the malika flowers, were blossoming in the autumn. And the next chapter, verse 11, also states, at the time of the rasa dance, the garland of jasmine of kunda flowers on Krishna's neck became tinged with the kumkum from Radha's breasts. Thus, it should be understood that the jasmines were blossoming out of season in the autumn. Verse 45 of this chapter says, the gentle wind bore the fragrance of lotus flowers. Kumudamud Vayuna. Although lotuses do not bloom at night, it is understood that on this special night, the lotuses also bloomed. Such is the super excellent charm of Vrindavan. Such is the super excellent charm of Vrindavan that their lotus flowers open even during the night. If we take an alternate reading of Sharadot Phula Malika, it means that both Sharad and Malika flowers were blooming. So the attractiveness of the night, the place, and now the attractiveness of the Vraj Gopis. Sri Krishna got ready to enjoy those nights. In this regard, some may interpret the word reme, take pleasure, as meaning that since Krishna is actually self-satisfied and innately full of all desires, this apparent enjoyment on his part with young women is only an external show, a false imitation of human life. Okay. It is in reply to such a possible interpretation that the phrase Rantum Manas Chakre is used to inform us that Krishna enjoyed internally within his mind, Manas, not externally. Very well, someone may say in agreement. This enjoyment is internal, but only for the cowherd damsels of Vraj because they are Krishna's devotees. To refute such an idea, the word chakre is intentionally used in atmanepad, a verb conjugation. It's sorry. Let me just reread this. So someone may say, this enjoyment is internal, but only for the cowherd damsels of Vraj, because they are Krishna's devotees. To refute such an idea, the word chakre is intentionally used in atmanepad, verb conjugation, instead of parasmaipad, to express that this enjoyment is for Krishna's own satisfaction. This moreover shows the Vraj Gopis had such an incredible degree of Krishna prem that the Supreme Lord himself, although already fulfilled in all possible pleasures, was thinking of enjoying with them. The phrase Itam Bhuta Guno Hari, the wonderful qualities of Lord Hari, in the famous Atmaramas Chamunayo verse from the Bhagavatam, establishes the super excellence of the Vraj Gopis. The Vishnu Puran says, and that was Atmaramas Chamunayo, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.7.10. The Vishnu Puran says, Lord Madhusudan, even though free from all flaws of passion and imperfect qualities, fulfilled his youth, his Kaishwar age, by enjoying with the beautiful women of Vraj in the night. Hari Vangsha says, Shri Krishna brought together in the night all the young, Krishna brought together in the night all the young cowherd girls, both married and unmarried, and fulfilled the purpose of his youth, his Kaishwar age, by enjoying with them. If Krishna failed to enjoy with the Vraj Gopis, his youthfulness, his Kaishor age, would have been fruitless. Therefore, great authorities such as Srila Rupa Goswami state, Kaishoram Safali Karoti Kalayan Kunje Viharam Hari. Lord Hari perfects his youth, his Kaishoram, by arranging loving pastimes in the bushes of Vrindavan. That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1-231. Such statements by realized acharyas of devotion subtly hint at the topmost supremacy of the young ladies of Vraj by revealing their supremely attractive qualities. By using the word yogamayam, which means that this was an action of Krishna's personal and inconceivable spiritual potency, his chit shakti, Shukadev Goswami reconciles everything contradictory and clarifies everything left unsaid. The prefix upa, fully, and the word upashrita, resorting to, indicates that Krishna took shelter in a most profound and complete manner. The fact that Krishna resorted to Yogamaya out of all the potencies that lie at his disposal pronounces the good fortune of Yogamaya. Verse 2. Tadoduraja kakubha karar muk. Oh, oops. Sorry, I didn't realize this is a. Tadoduraja kakubha karar mukam pracha vilimpanam arunena shantamai sacharshani nam udagach chucho mrijan priya priyaya iva dirga darshana. The moon then rose, anointing the face of the eastern horizon with the reddish hue of his comforting rays, and thus dispelling the pain of all who watched him rise. The moon was like a beloved husband who returns after a long absence and adorns the face of his beloved wife with red kumkum. Wow. Oh, and Rukmini Didi, did it explain how 8 years old is Kaishor age? I don't know. He did mention that Krishna was 8 years old, right? But he didn't mention, maybe he didn't write that 8 means Kaishor. Hari Bol, Prajumna Prabhu, and Mantramurti Mataji. Okay, so that's such a beautiful. Let me reread that. The moon then rose, anointing the face of the eastern horizon with the reddish hue of his comforting rays, and thus dispelling the pain of all who watched him rise. The moon was like a beloved husband who returns after a long absence and adorns the face of his beloved wife with red kumkum. Commentary. When Krishna became inclined to enjoy under the spell of the time and place, at that moment the moon, finding an opportunity to render service, rose of its own will in the eastern direction with its pleasing rays of light. The rising of the moon, the king of the stars, was another cause for the inflaming of passionate desires. In addition to being a stimulator of conjugal feelings, the moon also served Krishna and the gopis by illuminating their pleasure pastimes with its brilliant light. When a lover meets his beloved after a long separation, he colors her face with kumkum, arunena, reddish color, with his own hands. Similarly, the rising moon colored the face of the eastern direction with the reddish hue of its pleasing rays. The word sa expresses that he has already been mentioned. The word sa expresses that he has already been mentioned. The moon removed the discomfort caused by the heat of the sun from all men. The word Charshininam, which is in the genitive case, means of humankind, according to the Bhagavatam 6.642. Aryamno matrika patni tayos charshanaya charshanayo sutta yatra vai manushi jatir brahmana chopakalpita. From the womb of Matrika, the wife of Aryama, were born many learned scholars. Lord Brahma arranged for these learned scholars, these Charshanayas, to be the forefathers of the human race. Okay. The idea of this verse is as follows. The moon god, the very founder of the dynasty in which Krishna appeared, the Chandravangsha, and the most ancient leader of the Brahmin community, possesses many wives of his own who are all quite fit to be enjoyed. Yet he is touching the face of the eastern direction, who is another's wife, namely Indra. By touching her, the moon god is also making her attracted to him. This verse hints that if this is the case with the moon god, the leader of Krishna's dynasty, then certainly there is no fault in Krishna, a descendant of his dynasty, enjoying with the gopis. After all, Krishna is a fresh youth intoxicated with the beauty of his human form, and he is an unmarried member of the cowherd community. Besides, Krishna is so uniquely enchanting that he excites all the women in the universe. Drishtva kamudvantam akhandamandalam ramananabham navakum kumarunam vanam chatatko malago biranjitam jago kalang vamadrisham manoharam. Lord Krishna saw the unbroken disk of the full moon glowing with the red effulgence of newly applied vermilion, as if it were the face of the goddess of fortune. He also saw the Komoda lotuses opening in response to the moon's presence and the forest gently illumined by its rays. Thus the Lord began to play sweetly on his flute, attracting the minds of the beautiful-eyed gopis. Commentary. Krishna succumbs to romantic desires upon seeing the rising moon. Keeping in mind the saying, whatever great men do, others will follow, yad yad acharati sheshtas tatarive tarojana, and seeing the behavior of the founder of his own dynasty, Krishna felt free to make a definite effort to attract others' wives. He felt free to make a definite effort to attract others' wives there to enjoy without fear. This verse indicates the two elements of vibhav. So vibhav, cause of love for Krishna to appear. Is that how we define vibhav? Oh, interesting. In your book, it says the western direction, not the eastern direction. 1 second. What am I looking for? Vibhav. Whatever. We'll just continue on. So this verse indicates the two elements of vibhav, alamban and udipan. Right, and there's the ashraya alamban and the vishaya alamban, right? Okay. Anyways, alambana and udipan. Alambana is the shelter of ras, and udipan is the excitants to love. Moon is the udipan, and Krishna's form is the alambana. Okay, so udipan. Kumud Kumut is the same as Kumuda, as stated in the Viśvanātha dictionary. Kumudepi kumut proktam. That moon in whose presence the kumud lotuses can open. Another interpretation can also be given for this. The presence of the moon and Krishna gave pleasure, mood, to the earth, cool. This also applies to Krishna, since actually in this context, The specific antecedent, I don't know how to say that, antecedent, modified, and the modifier is left unstated. The full moon manifested a form resembling an unbroken disk. Oh God, I'm sorry, guys. This is really technical. Okay, this verse indicates to. Okay. Okay. Now it makes a bit more sense. Yeah. The moon is the brother of Rama, Lakshmi, because both were born from the churning of the milk ocean. Therefore, his face resembles hers. Or the word Rama refers to Radha, the original Lakshmi, as we find in the Brihad Gotamiya Tantra. Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva Kanti Sammohini Para. Radha, the source of all Lakshmis, possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all attractive personality of Godhead. The gopis are also Rama because they enjoy Ramante and give pleasure, Ramayanti, to Krishna. Shri Krishna became absorbed in remembering the gopis' faces upon seeing that moon. According to one interpretation, the faces of those Ramas, those gopis, exhibited wonderfully effulgent complexions that revealed their inner transformations of love. Consequently, Krishna saw himself as red as a ball of kumkum powder in the reflection of that shining moonlight of the gopis' faces. Or that moon of the gopis' faces was red due to the recent application of kumkum, and Krishna's face had become colored, ranjitam, by the gentle rays, the komala gopi of that moon. Otherwise, the compounds can be divided. To give the word abhirajitam. According to yet another interpretation, the forest was tinged red, abhirajita, by the famous rays of Krishna's own bodily effulgence, or else by the cows, the gopi, that he was tending. The absence of the expected inflectional ending, taj, is a poetic license of the sages. Okay, so this is all describing the udipan. And udipana is the things that help stimulate the excitants. The what do you say? How do they translate it here? Oh, they said excitants. Yeah. And now is explaining alambana. So alambana is the abode of love. So the devotee who's filled with love for Krishna, and the Vishalamba, Krishna, the object of that love. So seeing alambana, seeing these two opulent manifestations of the inflaming power of Cupid, Sri Krishna played sweetly on his flute. Verse 40 says, "Is there any woman in the three worlds who can maintain her chastity upon hearing the sweet melodious sounds of Krishna's flute?" In what manner did Krishna play his flute? This verse answers by saying that Krishna played in such a way as to captivate even those young girls with enchanting eyes, Vamadrisham Manoharam. The Shruti confirms, Gayantam Striya Kamayanta. The women became full of desire for that singing. From this, it should be concluded that Krishna used the flute to utter the Kama Bij, Klim, Klim, the seed mantra of transcendental love. The word kalam, sweetly, indicates ka and la, coming from the two consonants kakar and lakar, ka la. Oh, it indicates that k and l. You can't say it without but yeah. By removing the grammatical inflection from the Vamadrisham, we get Vamadrik, which is the name for the fourth vowel E. With that vowel, Krishna's flute vibrated the 15th sound of the alphabet. Um, I don't know how to say that. The word mana, mind, indicates the moon, the lord of the mind, which represents the Chandra Bindu. The word hara, manoharam, means to attract or to combine. Thus, the Kama Bij mantra kling is indicated here. In other words, Krishna's flute vibrated the Kama Bij, the original mantra of Cupid, which has the mysterious power to attract and enchant the minds of all the young damsels of Vraj. Wow. Just the other day, Shrivas was telling me a commentary that he read by, I think, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Ṭhākura, and he's explaining how ka refers to, in Vraj, refers to to ras, to water, and how that ras is coming from Krishna, and so it's representing Krishna. But then the la refers to, the la is from what the earth is created from. Like he's explaining the 5 different elements in transcendental Vraj, according to the word kling, and how each one of those elements is represented by a different personality. Like next after Krishna then was La, which is Lalita, which represented I think it was either earth or no, it was fire. And anyways, it's like some completely mind-blowing thing. It didn't really make total sense, but it's not supposed to. But is okay. It's ma, not okay. I got it. I got it. Okay. Oh, and Rup-Manjari, Vibhav is what the devotee sees that gives rise to or enhance ras. Okay, cool. Thank you. What the devotee sees that gives rise to. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go back to the reading. Nishamya Gitam Taranangavardhanam Vrajastriya Krishna Grihita Manasa Ajagmur Anyonyam Alakshitodyama Sayatra Kanto Javalola Kundala. When the young women of Vrindavan heard Krishna's flute song, which arouses romantic feelings, their minds were captivated by the Lord. They went to where their lover waited, each unknown to the others, moving so quickly that their earrings swung back and forth. Commentary. The gopis went towards Krishna as if they were puppets pulled by the strings of his flute song. That dulcet song, what's dulcet mean? Dulcet. Oh, dulcet, sorry. Dulcet. Dulcet means sweet and soothing. Okay. So that dulcet, that sweet and soothing song was not only alluring, but it also increased their love, Ananga. Krishna instigated a terrible act of thievery in Vrindavan when he played on his flute. The song of Krishna's flute passed through the ears of the gopis and entered the treasure chamber of their hearts. That wonderful music stole all their most valuable possessions, their sobriety, their shyness, fear, and discrimination, along with their very minds. And in a split second, this music delivered all these goods to Krishna. Thus afflicted, each beautiful Kishori was thinking, I have to capture that great thief. And thus they went forward, each unknown to the others. They began to chase the thief to catch him and retrieve their property. Where did they go? The gopis' earrings were swinging the gopis' earrings were swinging as they rushed to that place where their beloved was standing. The word kundala, earrings, also indicates their bracelets and anklets were swinging too. It appears that thief did not consider the gopis' external ornaments worthy of stealing. Wow, what an amazing purport. Duhantyo bhiyayu kaschid, dohang hitva samutsuka, payodhishritya samyavam, anudvasya parayayu. Some of the gopis were milking cows when they heard Krishna's flute. They stopped milking and went off to meet him. Some left milk curdling on the stove, and others left cakes burning in the oven. Commentary. 3 verses, verses 5 to 7, describe the gopis' complete absence of attachment to their duties and their haste to meet Krishna. The gopis could not wait a second, so they neglected all their duties based on I and mine. Some of them even left aside the particular duties of their social class. The gopis engaged in milking the cows abandoned this work and went off. Some gopis left pots of milk boiling on the stove, and others left wheat cakes baking in the oven. Verses 6 to 7. Pariveshayantyas. Oh God. Let's go. Man, I might have to look at the book because I can't see what the meter is for this. 6 to 7. Let me just try Anushtup. Pariveshayantyas. No. Let me just, it's just so much easier if I just look at the 29. Sorry about this, guys. Okay. Pariveshayantyastadhitva payayantya shishun paya shushrusantya patin kaschid ashnantyo pasya bhojanam limpantya pramrijantyo na anjantya kaschalochane vyatyasta vastrabharana kaschit krishnantikam yayu. Sorry, I messed up with these first 2 lines. Whatever. Just moving on. Some of them were getting dressed, feeding milk to their infants, or rendering personal service to their husbands. But they all gave up these duties and went to meet Krishna. Other gopis were taking their evening meals, washing themselves, putting on cosmetics, or applying kajal to their eyes. But all the gopis stopped these activities at once, and though their clothes and ornaments were in complete disarray, rushed off to Krishna. So I read that. Anyways, I'm not going to reread it. Commentary. These 2 verses describe how the gopis gave up their duties as wives and mothers. While engaging in dressing, they abandoned that business and failed to dress themselves adequately. Some stopped bringing warm water to their husbands and rendering other services, such as serving food. While cleansing their bodies with oils, bathing, and anointing themselves with turmeric and sandalwood paste, they dropped everything and hurried out of their homes. Some gopis were in such a rush that they could not distinguish hand from foot or nose from ear, and thus they put their ornaments in the wrong place, as shown by the word vyatyasta, disarray. Their behavior indicates vibram, bewilderment, of one of the anubhavs, bodily transformations indicating ecstatic love. Vibhrama is described in Ujjvala Nilamani Anubhav Prakaran, text 34. Vallabha prapti velayam madana vesa sambhramat. Vibhramo haramalyadi bhushastana viparyaya. Hastily preparing to meet her lover, the bewildered heroine may place her necklace, flower garland, and other ornaments in the wrong places. This is called vibhrama. Verse 8. Tavaryamana patibhi pitribhir bhratri bandhubhi. No. Okay. Tavaryamana patibhi pitribhir bhratri bandhi govindat pahritatmano nanya vartana mohita. Their husbands, fathers, brothers, and other relatives tried to stop them, but Krishna had already stolen their hearts. Enchanted by the sound of his flute, they refused to turn back. Commentary. Out of extreme love, the gopis gave up all duties. That is expected. But how could their husbands and other relatives give up that concern about them? This is replied to in this verse. Though the husbands tried to stop their wives and the fathers tried to stop their unmarried daughters, they could not dissuade them from going because their very souls had been stolen by Govinda. Govinda apahrita atmana. What to speak of the gopis' fear, shame, and self-control? Their soul. Thus, the Vraj gopis moved as if they were in trance, mohita, like puppets pulled by strings. How could their husbands, who out of fear of losing their reputation, would ordinarily losing their reputation would ordinarily never allow even young girls' dead bodies to go alone into the forest at night? How could they tolerate letting their wives go away in such a crazed state? This being true, Krishna's internal potency, Yoga Maya, unfolded the entire romantic episode without interference. I just think that example is so funny. They would never even allow the young girls' dead bodies to go alone into the forest at night. That's such an extreme example. Anyways, how would they tolerate letting is Krishna's potency, Yoga Maya. She made the entire romantic episode without interference. Yoga Maya did this by producing replica bodies of the gopis, who then stayed in their husbands' homes, while the original spiritual bodies of the gopis ran into the forest to dance with Govinda. So they're like gopi dummies remaining at home. Antargriha gata kaschid gopyo labdha vinirgama Krishnam tar bhavana yukta dadhyur militalochana. We're ending with this verse. Some of the gopis, however, could not manage to get out of their houses, and instead they remained home with eyes closed, meditating upon him in pure love. Commentary. Sri Rupa Goswami describes in Ujjvala Nilamani that there are two categories of gopis: the eternally perfect, the Nitya Siddhas, and those who have become perfect by practicing Bhakti Yoga, the Sadhan Siddhas. The Sadhan Siddhas are of two categories: those who belong to special groups and those who do not. Ayotiki and Yotiki, right? There are two classes of gopis belonging to special groups, namely the Shruticharis, who come from the group of the personified Vedas, and the Rishicharis, who come from the group of sages who saw Lord Ramachandra in the Dandakaranya forest. Gurudev explains this so many times. I didn't realize this came from this commentary though. And cool. This same fourfold categorization of the gopis is given in the Padma Purana. Gopyas tu shrutayo geya rishi ja gopakanyaka deva kanyashcha na manushya katanchana. It is understood that some of the gopis are personified Vedic literatures, while others are born sages, daughters of cowherds, or demigod maidens. But by no means, my dear king, are any of them ordinary humans. Here we are informed that although the gopis appeared to be human cowherd girls, they actually were not. Thus, the contention that they are mortals is refuted. The daughters of the daughters of cowherds, referred to here as Gopakanyas, must be eternally perfect, since we never hear of them having executed any sadhan. Their apparent sadhan of worshipping goddess Katyayani in the role of gopis merely manifests their manner of playing like human beings. The Bhagavatam narrates the account of this worship only to show how they had fully taken on the role of cowherd girls. That the Gopakanya gopis are actually Nityasiddhas, eternally perfect devotees of the Lord, is established by a statement in Brahma Samhita, verse 37. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhi, which proves that the gopis are like Sri Krishna's spiritual pleasure potency. Similarly, we have the words of the Gotamiya Tantra, Ladini Ya Mahashakti. Further corroboration of their eternal perfection is that these gopis, being co-eternal with their beloved Lord Krishna, are mentioned along with him in the 18-syllable Krishna mantra, the 10-syllable mantra, and others. Moreover, the worship of these mantras and all the shrutis that present them has been in existence since time immemorial. The Devakanyas, the daughters of the demigods, who are mentioned in the verse beginning Sambhavas Tvamara Striya, are explained in Sri Ujjvala Nilamani as partial expansions of the Nitya Siddha gopis. That the Shruti-chari gopis, the personified Vedas, are Sadhan Siddha is understood from the following words of theirs. The Shruti-chari gopis, the personified Vedas, are Sadhan Siddha is understood from the following words of theirs quoted in the Brihad Vamana Puran. Kandarpakoti lavanye tvaidrishte manangsina kamini bhavam asadya smarakshubdhanya samshaya yatatva loka vasinya kamatatvena gopika bhajanti ramanam matva chikirsha janinastata. Side couldn't figure out the meter for that. Since we have seen your face, which possesses the beauty of millions of cupids, our minds have become lusty after you, like those of young girls, and we have forgotten all other allurements. We have developed the desire to act towards you as the gopis. We have developed the desire to act towards you as do the gopis who dwell on your transcendental planet and who manifest the nature of Cupid by worshiping you with the idea that you are their paramour. Wow, this Brihad Vamana Puran. The Shrutis pray like that. Oh my God, it's 8:33. Anyways, I think we're nearly finished. Sorry, I'll read quickly though. The Rishi Chari gopis are also Sadhan Siddha, as stated in Ujjvala Nilamani. Gopalo Pasaka Purvam Apraptabhishta Siddhaya. Previously, they were all Maharshis living in the Dandaka forest. We find evidence for this in the Padma Puran Uttarakanda. Drishtva Ramam Harim Tatra Bhoktum Aichan Suvigraham. Te sarve stritvam apana samudbhutascha gokule. Harim samprapya kamena tato mukta bhavarnavat. This verse says that upon seeing Lord Ramachandra, the sages in the Dandak forest desired to enjoy Lord Hari, Krishna. In other words, the sight of Lord Rama's sweet beauty reminded them of Lord Hari Gopal, their personal object of worship, and they then wanted to enjoy with him. But out of embarrassments, they did not act on that desire, whereupon Lord Sri Ram, who is like a desire tree, gave his mercy to them, even though they had not voiced their requests. Thus their desire was fulfilled, as stated by the words beginning Te Sarve. By means of their lusty attraction, they became freed from the ocean of material existence, and coincidentally, they got the association of Hari and conjugal love. In the present verse of the Bhagavatam, we understand that it was the gopis who had children who were kept forcibly at home. This fact is clear from the verses yet to come. Matara Pitara Putra. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:29-20. That's in this chapter. Yat patya patya suhridam anuvritir anga. That's verse 32 in this chapter. And pati sutanvaya bhratri bandhavan. That's from Gopi Geet, verse 16. In his comments on the 10th canto, Srila Kavi Karnapur Goswami also states that those gopis who had children were prevented from going to meet Krishna, as seen from later verses such as these. Krishna said, "Your mothers, fathers, sons, brothers, and husbands are searching for you." The gopis replied, "But you have advised us that the proper religious duty for women is to faithfully serve their husbands, children, and other relatives. Giving up husbands and sons, we have come to you." Without trying to repeat all his thoughts on this verse, we will give the gist of his purport, of Srila Kavi Karnapur's purport. Upon seeing the sweetness of Lord Ram, the sages who are worshippers of Lord Gopal immediately became elevated to the mature platform of spontaneous devotion, automatically reaching the stages of Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, and Bhav. However, they had not yet attained perfection and become completely freed of all material contamination. Nevertheless, even though they have not become completely freed of all material contamination, Shri Yogamaya Devi arranged for them to take birth in Gokul from the wombs of gopis and become cowherd girls. By associating with Shri Radha and other eternally perfect gopis, the Nityasiddha gopis, some of these new gopis fully manifested purvarag, loving attachment for Krishna, as soon as they reached puberty. This kind of attraction develops even before one meets the beloved, purvarag. When these new gopis attained the direct association of Krishna, all their remaining contamination became burned up, and they achieved the advanced stages of prem, sneha, and so on. Even though they were in the company of their cowherd husbands, by the power of Yogamaya, those gopis remained unsullied by sexual contact with them. Rather, they are situated in purely spiritual bodies that Krishna enjoyed. On the nights they heard the sound of Krishna's flute, their husbands tried to stop them, but by the merciful assistance of Yogamaya, the Sadhan Siddha gopis were able to go forth to their beloved together with the Nitya Siddha gopis. Other gopis, however, because of not getting the good fortune of associating with Radha and other Nityasiddha gopis, had not achieved the stage of prem, and so their contamination was not completely burned away. They enjoyed intimately with their cowherd husbands and gave birth to children. But a short time later, even these gopis developed their purvarag by hankering intensely for the intimate physical association of Krishna, a hankering they acquired by associating with the advanced gopis. Becoming worthy recipients of the mercy of the perfected gopis, they assumed spiritual bodies fit to be enjoyed by Krishna. When Yogamaya failed to help them overcome their husbands' attempts to keep them from going out, they felt themselves cast into the worst calamity. Viewing their husbands, brothers, fathers, and other family members as enemies, they came close to dying. Just as other women might remember their mothers or other relatives at the time of, just as other women might remember their mothers or other relatives at the time of death, these gopis remembered the sole friends of their very life, Krishna, as stated in the present verse of the Bhagavatam, beginning with the word antar. It is implied that those gopis who were not able to exit because they were held back by their husbands, who were standing before them with sticks in their hands, scolding them. Although these gopis were perpetually absorbed in love for Krishna, at that particular time, they meditated upon him and cried out within, "Alas, alas, my only friend, only friend of our life! O ocean of artistic skills within the Vrindavan forest! Please let us become your girlfriends in some future life, because at this time we cannot see your lotus-like face with our eyes. So be it. We shall look upon you we shall look upon you with our minds." Lamenting in this way, the gopis shut their eyes and meditated deeply upon Sri Krishna. All right, tomorrow we will continue on with this Rasa Panchadhyaya. And I feel like I should read something about reading Rasa Panchadhyaya also, like some kind of introductory thing. So I'll see if I find something, maybe in the introduction to Geet Govinda. Anyways, I'll do some research. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Thank you so much for letting me go 10 minutes overtime today, guys. Really appreciate it. And I'll be more careful about not getting too many words to read. I'll make the readings shorter. But that is so neat, Indira Mataji. I heard this other pastime where the queens of Dwarka wanted to replicate the gopis' loving affairs for Krishna's pleasure, but when Krishna went away and played the flute, they couldn't hear it. That's really neat. And that is a very good question, Rukmini Didi. Because, okay, yeah, so the Shrutis, they get liberated. Sorry, they become a gopi. So then what happens to the Shruti? Does it just stop existing in this world? So I wonder if the Shruti is kind of like a position that a jiva can get the position of being one of the Shrutis. And then once that Shruti jiva is liberated, then another person takes a place. Like, is it a post? Like the post of Indra and the post of Brahma, like that? I don't know. That's a really good question, though. I'll have to. If anybody knows the answer to that, let me know. Actually, I do remember hearing something about this. I'll have to look this up. But it was in regards to. Anyways, I'll message you about that, Rukmini Didi. All right. Jai Shishi Guru Goranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Śrīla Gaurkṣara Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Dashagunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari, Shri Rai Ramanandari, Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nama Chai Shri Haridas Ṭhākura ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shiksheta Mandala, Gora Mandala, Vraja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishtapadata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Śrīmad-Bhāgavati Ras Panchadhyaya ki jai. Shri Sārārtha-darśinī vritti ki jai. Shri Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura ki jai. Shri Vrishabhanunandini Śrīmati Radha Ṭhākurani ki jai. Shri Sarva Vraja Devi Gan ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gan ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Oh, yes, thanks for reminding me. Shri Champakalata ki jai. Today is Champakalata's appearance day. And who's coming up next? Is it Induleka you mentioned, Rukmini Didi? Is it Induleka tomorrow or the day after tomorrow? I think the day after, or in 3 days from now? No, 2 days from now. Anyways, yeah. I feel really like a bit awkward reading this Ras Panchadhyaya because I don't know, like, I feel really unqualified and I'm not able to explain things more. And anyhow, we're just reading Srila Viśvanātha Chakravartī Thakur's commentary, and I don't really have time to do much study because I have lots of publication things. So you'll just have to bear with me. But thank you so much for sticking around. And okay, and so today is Champakalata's appearance day, and Induleka Gopi will be the day after tomorrow. Yes, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yes. All right, Dandavat pranams, everybody. Yes, so many days coming up. You want to see all the days coming up? Let me show you again. I think I showed you that before, but look. Here is Kartik. Kartik is in 34 days from now. Jiva Goswami and Shravan Mahadwadashi, Vaman Dwadashi, those 3 days that's coming in. Sorry, all those are coming in 2 days. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur is in 3 days. Haridas Thakur's disappearance day is in 4 days, and also Srila Bhakti Vigan Parvati Goswami Maharaj's disappearance day. That's all in 4 days. And then Vishwarup Mahotsav is in 5 days. Yes, many festivals. All right, Dandavat pranams, everybody.